I saw a clip of Lizzo talking mad shit about my boy.
I genuinely hope and pray that homeboy was doing that as a bit.
Saw that Lizzo thing, and you didn't really know much about World War II. Have you learned any more since then?
About World War II?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you have?
I did. I did my research.
Who was the leader of Russia during World War II?
I didn't do that kind of research.
Today on Teach Me Daddy, I'm going to teach Matteo about World War II and about how America is the original power bottom. Welcome to TMD.
Teach me, Daddy.
Teach me, Daddy.
Hi, I'm Matteo Lane.
And this is Teach Me, Daddy. So let's get right into it. I saw a clip of Lizzo talking mad shit about my boy, something with history and your friend Nick. What happened?
When do you think World War II was? Do you think
In the 1800s? That's not.
I genuinely hope and pray that homeboy was doing that as a bit.
Well, to be fair, my friend Nick knows nothing. I mean, it isn't. She was right. Like, he's embarrassing. We were talking about World War II, and first we were talking about The Wizard of Oz, and I said, "Do you know when World War II was?" He goes, "The 1800s." I said, "You think we had airplanes in the 1800s?" He was like, "It wasn't the 1800s." So his joke was, I said it was 1939, the same time we made The Wizard of Oz, and he goes, "You mean to tell me that the world went to war and our response was The Wizard of Oz?" That's the joke. Lizzo took it, put it on her TikTok, and basically called him an uneducated idiot, and she's not wrong. But yes, so now it's like, oh, I think all of us should start teaching ourselves a little bit more about history.
Well, it's just Lizzo who's quit the business now,
Right.
she said. Crying for help. And I get it. I have no problem. I have zero problem with Lizzo. I dance to her music. I wear thongs like her now. And I just, it's just when people like pronounce that they're leaving, it's like, I know you need help. Like, who announces that shit?
Well, she made an announcement that she was leaving while wearing her bathing suit that she's currently promoting. So I was like, I don't know you're leaving for good, but she better work.
I can't even. Okay. So let me ask you this. Here's one thing about me, right? The show is about, because we all have like little hidden talents, or it's not even a talent. I have a knowledge and love of history because my mom, when I was a little kid, used to take me on vacations to different parts of America that had celebrated colonial history. So like Boston, Philadelphia, colonial Williamsburg. She like instituted this idea of history in me. That was like our, my friends would come back from summer vacation. They'd be like, oh, I'd be like, where'd you go? They were like, oh, water parks. They'd be like, what about you? I'd be like, the Freedom Trail in Boston. I walked around with my divorced mom. And we would I think she was like literally going to like different singles bars. And then she'd be like, I'll just kind of let my son, get lost in the history, and I'll go look for a date.
Well, history can be fun. I was just in Tennessee a couple months ago, and my husband and I went to go to the Titanic Museum. But because it was Tennessee, the like special gift in the end was a Lego Titanic that some 10-year-old built. I was like, oh, the indignity.
Yes. Ugh.
I was like, and they're like, oh, so all these people died, but look at this 10-year-old build a Lego Titanic. And I was like, just call him a faggot and move on.
Yeah, let it go, Jack. But anyway, this reason that I like, people don't ever think that I know anything ever, because I just have a big dumb football head. And I'm not saying, I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I do specifically have just a love of history. Like when you leave me alone, as a matter of fact, I love sports, but when you just leave me alone by myself, I'm typically watching history all day.
Is there a certain era of history that interests you the most, or is it just any kind of history? Is it American history? Is it world history? Is it ancient history?
So I like American history, and I like American history. My favorite number one is Revolutionary War.
Okay.
So how we, got our freedom from the dirty Brits, and we'll still get all free. Well, the thing is with America is you have to understand one thing about us is we're very good at lying, right? And we're very good at marketing. I meant to say we're the best marketers ever in the world. Nobody markets like us, because even like the Revolutionary War and this whole idea of Declaration of Independence and fighting for freedom from the dirty British, none of that was true. Like, as a matter of fact, the people of the day in the 1700s, they loved the British. They were like, the British are not hurting us. Yes, they own us, but they also keep us safe from.
But didn't it just come down to like taxes? Like they kept taxing them, and like we don't want to pay taxes to the British.
Yes, taxation without representation was a big thing. But really, what it really was about at the end of the day is, yes, they didn't want to get taxed, but they, the people, the loyalists, the ones who like love the British, they were just like, the French, the Spanish in the South, in Florida, want to kill us. The Native Americans to the West want to kill us. The only reason why they're not killing us is because we're backed by the British. So the people were like, it's not that I don't want to fight for freedom or not fight for freedom. I just don't want Native Americans and Spaniards to just come onto my land, the migrants, the original migrants, to come onto my land and kill me. And so that's really what it was about. But I'm bringing all that up to say, in this video that I saw, Nick, he didn't know where won World War II, who fought in World War II.
Right. And World War II, to be honest with you, that is like, this is the easiest war to sort of
The easiest.
consume.
But let me ask you this. I brought up marketing for a reason. Let me ask you this. Why do you think, two questions. Why did Japan bomb us at Pearl Harbor? Why do you think, what were you taught? And why do you think we dropped a nuclear bomb on Japan? What are the reasons that you were taught in school, and to your understanding, why do you think that happened?
So in school, I think that, oh God, I almost failed high school.
Teach me, Daddy. You have to. When I ask the question, you should go, teach me, Daddy.
Teach me, Daddy.
And then I'll do it to you when it's your turn.
I
to
need
teach me.
poppers.
I'll go, teach me, Daddy.
Oh, that's what I should do. I should teach you poppers.
Yes, we'll do that.
Oh, this is great.
We have so much stuff for
Oh
round
my
two.
God. So I love that you're teaching me World War II, and the first thing I thought of was poppers.
Crystal meth invented in World War II.
Well, you know
I can
what?
explain that.
That explains the teeth in the posters. I think that so what we were taught in school is that Japan, right, purposely. I thought it was about them trying to take over all countries, and they were going through all of Asia to try and take over China, Vietnam. They were going over everything, and then they
were not stopping the Asian hate.
They
were promoting the Asian hate.
Can you imagine if social media existed in 1939? And then in America was like, we're not going to get involved, right? We're not getting involved. We're not getting involved. But then we were supplying Britain and France with all the weapons, or maybe just Britain. So then we were making money off of that. And then Japan basically, why did they get involved? I mean, we were just told that they got involved because, I don't know, they were assholes, and then it brought us into the war. I mean, they were trying to destroy our fleet.
So yes, that's good. That's mostly right. So the thing is with Japan, I think because a lot of people would say, I don't understand why they just bombed us, like in Pearl Harbor. Like it is phrased to us as Americans, because again, we're marketers, that the evil Japanese empire just bombed us, and all the pictures of the Japanese back then were like, they were like, like they had like the most racist Asian faces, like.
Oh, like the posters America was making.
Posters that America had were
well,
just
and the
like,
Japanese internment camps too, which was so horrible.
Yes, horrible and all true. But it's like it really started with us. So the reason why Japan hated us from the beginning.
Oh, wait a minute. Now this is ringing a bell.
Okay, because in World War I, right? The United States, Japan fought on the United States side, right? And United States wins.
Were we taxing them? Is it about taxes? Something we did that was like we were inserting ourselves too much or something.
They weren't taxing. What happened is there's a very World War I really did lead to World War II. If World War I was handled differently by the winners, there wouldn't have been Hitler and this whole Axis army, because what happened is there was a very controversial treaty, the Treaty of Versailles.
Right.
At the Versailles is wonderful. You've been there?
Oh, it's my favorite. Versailles, it was so fun. 1942. I was on a boat with Fidel Castro, and we had some Versailles.
Versailles sounds like that, like in the 80s when they had that ice cream that looked like that. It was like, it looked really elegant.
Yes.
What was that a cake called? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like Napoleon?
No, it was like the cake that looked like this. It was like whipped cream, but it was frozen. You buy it and they'd cut it in the commercials and it just looked so elegant.
Yummy, yummy in my tummy.
It was when you didn't have money and you thought things looked more expensive.
Why
I don't know. I've not been to Versailles.
Why does Fidel Castro look exactly like Liam Neeson? Have people spoken about this, about why Liam Neeson and Fidel Castro are twinsies?
Did his wife go skiing?
He might have. Yes.
Oh, can you believe that?
How horrible is that?
It's so terrible. And then Liam Neeson kind of went crazy too for a little bit.
Yeah.
We all swept that under the rug.
Yes.
He said a bunch of racist bullshit, and we were like, what? And we were like, never mind, put him back in the movie.
I can't watch
Okay, I'm
Japan
sorry.
Trap.
So Japan.
Look at that. How
Oh, they do look alike.
aren't they twins?
Wait a minute. That's not photoshopped on the
No.
right? Well, what the hell is he doing playing Qui-Gon? Why isn't he
is
playing
James
Fidel
Franco in it?
Castro?
Yeah, and why'd you pull up James Franco? Does James Franco also look like Liam Neeson and Fidel Castro?
Off topic real quick, but we're editing. If I was going to play anyone in history, who would I play?
If you were going to play anyone in history,
Based off how I look, certainly not how I act. Otherwise, it would be Nathan Lane in the Birdcage.
I think here's who I could see you playing. I think that if they did some type of remake, kind of, played with the idea of history, and if they wanted to make, I could see you play like a Napoleon, because Napoleon actually wasn't short. That's another fun fact. He wasn't really short. He was, because you have very French energy.
I do?
But good French energy. Powerful French energy. You know what I'm saying, V? He has very powerful, kind of good French energy. That's what Napoleon had. And he wasn't short. He was probably about your height. You're about 5'9"?
9. Yeah, 5'9".
No, my height.
Yeah,
5'9", size 32 waist.
No, 30.
Whoa, skinny bitch.
I am a skinny bitch.
So Japan, right? World War I, Treaty of Versailles. United States and Japan were on the same side. They beat the Germans, right? And then at the end of the war of World War I, we could have just said, the United States, Britain, all the Allied powers could have just said, let's bygones be bygones. So many hundreds of millions of people died in this war. Germany, just don't be a dick anymore. Maybe we'll take your guns away, and that's it. But instead, what they did was they basically told Germany, you owe, not only are you have no army anymore, you owe all of us war reparations. You have to now pay. You have to pay us, the United States and Britain, you have to pay us for what you did. And that basically decimated Germany's economy, which eventually leads to the rise of Hitler, because the German people are like, we have no country, we want to go back to the way it was. And the only one who sounds like they're making any sense is Hitler. You can just
who was also on methamphetamine.
Who was on crystal meth. They used to call it Panzer Chocolate. It was tank chocolate.
What?
Yeah, I swear to God. Crystal meth they used to give it to the soldiers.
Well, they get all the soldiers were like methed out.
Methed out. That's why when they kind of got off meth and went through like rehab, which they didn't call it back then, they were like, what did we do? Why did we do this? They basically changed their brain chemistry. But Japan, who was on the United States side in World War I, didn't get any of these spoils of the war. They didn't get any money. They didn't get any type of, land, nothing. They were just like, hey, we helped you. And the United States was like, why don't you just go sit down and eat rice? They didn't. So Japan always kind of was like, F you to the United States for that for a long time. Then we go into World War II, as you said, the 1930s. Japan is coming out their fucking face, and they're taking over, as you mentioned, every Asian country.
And they were brutal.
Oh, the rape of Nanking. You ever heard of that?
Well, that's the name of my book.
Yes.
Shockingly, it's a cookbook.
So, up next, douching.
I know, what a difference.
Yes.
You're teaching me history, and I'm like, now when you want to clean your asshole. But Jasmine feels like she wants to just explore a little bit. When she wants to break the Treaty of Versailles and explore a little bit with your ass, you'll be ready.
I'll be ready. So the rape of Nanking, the Japanese, they're like bayoneting Chinese babies. They're like killing babies in front of their mothers and fathers, and then killing the mother. Like they're being.
And were they on methamphetamine, or that they were just like we're mad?
They were just angry. They were just. They wanted land. They manifest destiny, meaning they wanted to just. They were like, all of this Asia should be ours. Just the same way Hitler thought I want an
All of
Aryan nation.
yeah.
Yes. And he was like, that's what Japan thought. Now, the interesting thing, because we say right now, right, like in present day, why does the United States always have to get involved in everyone else's business? Why are we like have to be this big brother and go get in wars in the Middle East?
I feel like we're sort of that like white girl in high school who acts like a victim, but she clearly started gossip about everybody around her. And then everyone starts to confront her and she's like, how dare you? Just let me live my life.
Yeah.
Are we that?
We're that. We are that. That's exactly who America is.
I should teach it. We should teach history classes. You give facts, and then I just sort of regurgitate it to idiots.
Yes, that seriously should be the show. And so basically, we in the 1930s, you know, we don't want to get involved in World War II. We don't, because we actually want it to be neutral, like Switzerland. How Switzerland is. That's what the United States was about.
We want to be neutral, and then we're sending a bunch of. Well, I guess it was in our best interest to be sending weapons and stuff to.
Yes.
Oh, that's how we got brought in, because the Germans kept sinking our subs.
Kind of, a little bit. They did, but we didn't really. We said FDR got voted in. Franklin
Right.
Delano Roosevelt, the one in the wheelchair.
Right.
That because there's some people confuse him with Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy
That's right.
Roosevelt, who gave us Puerto Rico. I'll tell you about that later. FDR was the one in the wheelchair, and so he said the people. They voted. The people voted FDR in because they were like, we don't want to be in war unless we get attacked. We don't want to go into this war. We lost so much in World War I. We want to be neutral. We kind of want to be a pacifist country, which doesn't sound like the America of today, but that's what we were in the 1930s. And then basically the only thing we did is because we saw how crazy Japan was getting, we had an embargo with China and Japan. We would not give them any more oil. We wouldn't sell anything to them. We cut off their supply. And the only way to keep a war machine running is you need oil. And they were getting the oil from us, from the United States. So we said, we're not doing it anymore. So to Japan, that was an act of war. And they said, the only way that we're going to be able to get this oil to keep our war going is if we somehow go to war with the United States and beat them, and we basically take over the U.S. We're going to.
That was their best attempt.
That was the plan. And then they came and they were like, the only way they will ever beat the United States is if we knock out their entire Pacific fleet of the Navy in one shot.
But the fleet wasn't even there.
Half the fleet was in the middle of the ocean. They got bad.
But they didn't think this through.
They did not. And then they. Really?
And then they want to defeat our fleet. They kill half of their air fleet by kamikazing themselves.
Yes, they fucked up. They
did not think this through.
They did not think it through at all. They fucked up. But
didn't we know, because we were in the Depression, and to make money, also going to war serves us because it puts people back to work, gets the economy going.
Exactly.
And so wasn't FDR, he stood for this speech. Wasn't he like, now we have to go to war?
Exactly. So that's why when people ask, why are we always getting in everybody's business today, it's because back then, when we were a pacifist country, pseudo-pacifists didn't want to get involved. We weren't making money. But as soon as they saw how much money was there to be made in World War II, we became, it's money. We're in it. We're in war now because of money. It's what
what's so
feeds our
funny? You
economy.
say pacifist, but in Italian, when you want to call yourself a bottom, you say I'm passivo, which means passive. And if you're a top, you're attivo, which means active. And so America was we were masquerading as a bottom.
Right.
But we
A
were
power
top.
bottom.
Yeah, we were a top.
We were top. And so that's why Japan had to bomb us. It wasn't for no reason to the Japanese people. They were like, the only chance we have is to knock America out of the war right now, and then we'll take their oil, which was a bad
Well, they made
plan.
a grave mistake.
And
if they didn't do that, they probably would have succeeded a lot more.
Oh yeah, 100%. They would have probably. They should have done.
They got highfalutin, like they were thinking to themselves, like, wow, we're really doing a great job just sort of gathering all this land and people in all of Asia. So,
Yeah.
and weren't they even like starting to like dip their toes into Australia?
That
At one
I
point,
don't know.
think.
Probably.
And they were like, you can get out of here. What's going on?
Fuck you. Ooh, somebody's ringing the bell. That's my kimchi. Shout out Koreans.
Buongiorno a tutti. Fast forward to the end of 2024 and think of your goals. What can you do right now to give yourself the best chance of succeeding? If you want to learn a new language, you absolutely have to get Babbel. Babbel's tips and tools are approachable, accessible, rooted in real-life situations, and are delivered with conversational-based teachings, so you are ready to practice what you've learned in the real world. Babbel's convenient courses have helped me learn a real-life conversation skill in a different language. I can go to another country and order food, I can ask for directions, speak to merchants, all without having to use a translation app. So, the thing that I really love about Babbel is Babbel's speech recognition feature, and it helps me improve the way I pronounce words and the right accent, like che carino, allora, buongiorno, ma cosa vorresti mangiare oggi? You know, that's Italian. So, here is a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, you can get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/teachme. So get up to 60% off at babbel.com/teachme, spelled Babbel, BABBEL.com/teachme. Rules and restrictions may apply. Babbel is helping millions of people quickly and confidently have real conversations in a new language. Remember to go to babbel.com/teachme, spelled BABBEL.com/TEACHME, and get up to 60% off your subscription.
So, okay,
You can do like a speed round too and just ask me questions about World War II and see if I can answer them.
Okay, here's one thing that I want to ask. This one thing I always thought was really interesting.
But I've done pretty good so far.
You have?
Yeah.
Why do you think we dropped the nuclear weapon on Japan?
Okay.
2 of them.
So the answer that everyone tells you in war is it was the only way to stop the war, right? That's number one. Like, it was the only way to stop the war. But the other part too was it was a race between us. Well, first the Germans, we thought that the Germans already had the technology to make a nuclear bomb. And then we stole their scientists to keep creating it. And we basically did it to basically claim that we're like the world power. Also to maybe like, I don't know, something with Russia, just to be like, hey, Russia, back off. But even though we were kind of worked with Russia in World War II, but
yes.
So, I mean, but also maybe part of it too is to like send a warning and be like, because I think if we had gone to land war with Japan, it would have been even more deaths. And so maybe that was just us being like, we're going to do this instead. God, am I really bombing right now? No pun intended.
No, that actually is exactly right. I mean, no, it is, because people say, like, we got taught, if we would have invaded mainland Japan, we would have lost 1 million soldiers, which is probably true. But the real reason, Japan was about to surrender no matter what, because they weren't afraid of us. They were afraid of Russia. Russia beat Germany. Germany lost.
And Russia lost like 20 million people, 12 million people in the Winter War, remember?
Yes, here's a wild stat. In those years, I don't remember the exact years, but in World War II, if you were a Russian male between the ages of 18 and 25, you had a 30% chance of living. 70% chance of dying.
And then you said that like a weatherman?
Yeah. Well, because it's like people think that's insane odds. That's insane number, because like, Vietnam, you hear about Vietnam. It's like, oh my God,
my dad was in Vietnam. He was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam War.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and you think everybody, you think, people think, Vietnam, everybody died. The truth is, a lot of men did die, but we sent so many soldiers there. If you went as a Vietnamese, as an American soldier to Vietnam, you had a 1% chance of dying. You most likely were going to survive.
Really?
It's just we sent so many soldiers there that the number was big. I mean, a lot of deaths, but percentage-wise, it wasn't that. In Russia, though, I'm saying you had a 70% chance of dying in World War II, which is nuts, because the way they fight is they just throw waves of Russian soldiers, and they're like basically cannon fodder.
It is. The Russians really they don't fuck around.
They don't.
I mean, that story about like Germany sending all their tanks and everything in, and then it was the winter, and then they didn't have enough supplies. They used too much of their supplies, which is obviously where Hitler lost the war. But also the Russians are like, we'll send women and children. We'll come with frying pans. We don't give a shit. Also, they're like, we know what the winter is. Yeah. And the Germans are like, why is it so cold? And they're like, get them. I mean, it just, that to me, it's just, oh God, the amount of people that died.
You don't fuck with the winter. Napoleon lost his war because he went into the Russian winter, and then Hitler. And
Italy did what? Tried to colonize Ethiopia, and Ethiopia was like, can you leave?
Yeah, it's basically, yes, seriously, that's what happened.
Or was it Libya? What was one of the countries?
No, they were in Italy, went to, not Ethiopia. Where did they go? They went to, it was Northern Africa. I forgot exactly what country in Northern Africa.
It wasn't Tunisia.
But it was Hitler and Mussolini, the leader of Italy, were like BFFs, right? And then,
well, Hitler eventually hated Mussolini.
Yeah, because Hitler was like, I'm sending you in there. You can't even fucking take over North Africa.
Listen, I'm tell you, we have to take a nap, and then we have to cook the food, and I don't know what's happen. Italians, we are just, look. We had our glory days in Rome.
Yes.
All right. We made the aqueducts. We have Gladiator, the movie now. We got to coast on good pasta fashion and music.
No more wars. So basically, Italy gets knocked out, and then Germany had got knocked out, and so Russia was like, we conquered Germany, the United States and Russia conquered Germany, and then Russia starts to move in, starts to set their eyes on Japan. They're like, well, let's knock out Japan out. And Japan was like, I don't want to fight the Russians. So they were about to surrender. And the United States government, Harry Truman, because FDR had died in the middle of the war, Harry Truman was the president now, and he was like, oh shit. If Russia now takes over Japan, then we're losing our advantage.
So we killed all those people just to show Russia that we're not fucking around?
Exactly, and
Oh,
sent
we
two
have a bad
nukes
record.
on. There was no reason for the second nuke. The reason for the second nuke, the first nuke, Japan was going to surrender in 2-3 weeks, no matter what, whether you dropped a nuke or not, because Russia was like right there. So the first nuke was to basically be like, Japan, like, stop now.
And did the nuclear bomb, did that truly shock the world? Was Russia like, oh God?
Yes, but the second nuke was literally, no matter what you learn in history, nothing.
It was unnecessary.
It was just to basically to tell Russia, to make Russia believe we have an unlimited supply of these. So this is what we can do to everyone, including you.
Do it in the ocean.
That's what I thought. That's what I say. Do it in the ocean. Kill the fish.
Oh, by the way, I truly, and I stand by this controversial statement, just fill the ocean with chlorine. Make it a big pool. I don't care how it destroys the ecosystem. It is a nightmare. Make it pretty. I want it to look like a Sandals Resort commercial. It's truly enough. And
Yes.
if you're offended, I don't care.
That's it. So we dropped the first nuke to try to, make Japan stop, even though they were going to stop anyway. And we fully dropped the second nuke just to show Russia that we have an unlimited supply of nukes. But that didn't really do anything. It just made Russia and every other country in the world want to build nukes. And now we sit here in this mutually assured destruction. And make no mistake, somebody's going to throw out one of those nukes one day, and then we're all going to be fucked.
I know. I just read a book by Abby Jacobson. Is that her name? I forget. Abby. I forget. She got glasses, and her voice is very calm. When she talks, even though she's talking about the destruction of the world, it's comforting. And but she talked about like how quick it would literally be 6 minutes. If Russia sent a nuclear weapon, 6 minutes. 6 minutes is how much time the president has to respond. Not to respond to deflect it, but to respond to choose where he's going to send theirs.
Yep.
And then it's all over.
Yeah, it would probably be, they said, if we got hit with a nuke, the United States or Russia, I would assume, got hit with a nuke, then it would just take one to probably end everything, because whoever responded would respond with like 30 nukes at once. So then it would just end. It would all just end. So we probably won't ever get nuked, because I think this mutually assured destruction is real. But I don't know. I feel like we're already in World War III right now, and the Cold War never ended.
Should we do a quick speed round before we end this about World War II, just to see how much I know?
Yeah. Okay.
Liza Minnelli.
World War II. Who were the Allied powers?
The Allied powers were America, Great Britain, France. Well,
Yeah.
France was taken over though by Germany.
Immediately.
So Russia. So America, Great Britain, Russia.
Yeah.
And eventually the Italians.
Yep.
We came along. Where do you go, you now?
Yeah. Switch sides.
Those are the big three, right?
Yeah, those are the big three. And then who were the Axis powers?
It was Germany, it was Japan, and it was Italy for a
so
little time.
So you know all that.
Yeah.
Do you know why France was like the top army? They were like the top army going into World War II, and they got steamrolled by the Germans. Do you know like a fun fact of why?
Yeah, they didn't want to get their shirts dirty.
Yes, that. But Germany and Hitler would not allow prostitutes. You could not have prostitutes in the German camp. Like they were not. You could not do that.
How has Hitler, who hated gay, did everything in his power to really make the Nazis gay?
Yeah, so gay.
We will not have sex. We'll only hang out with ourselves. We'll wear these tight, wonderful outfits. We will walk the exact same with each other, and only boys will be boys. Blonde.
Yeah, blonde. And you guys will look at all my paintings.
Yeah. Oh my God. By the way, if you see a sort of like a crazy look in a young artist's eye, just let him go to school, because you're gonna save about 22 million lives.
Yep. And so Hitler said no prostitutes, nothing, no fun. And the French had a fully opposite. Drink wine, have sex with prostitutes, and when they really lost, it was the Battle of Dunkirk. Is when they made the movie with Tom
Because
Hardy.
didn't Germany try and get through France, but France was good, but then they started going through Belgium.
Yes.
And then that's how they got into
They
Paris.
had this whole thing, the Maginot Line, which was like this whole fortress, and they came around. Germany.
We
came
weren't thinking that we had another place that can come around, so I'm so sorry.
But when they lost the Battle of Dunkirk, they all had like rampant STDs from certain prostitutes, and they like couldn't fight. They were like all fucked up with fever.
That's true?
That's true.
I'm so sorry. I cannot hold my gun. My crotch is too much. So I will sit here and eat my crotch, and you can have our wine.
That's it.
That's pretty much it.
And that's it. And then they got taken prisoners.
God, so if they just had some antibiotics, France would
Yeah.
have held strong.
That's just all Germany had to do was put.
But these people aren't thinking well.
I know.
Why am I a better general in war than the French?
I know. It wouldn't even matter if you got an STD now from a prostitute because, like you said, you have little antibiotics.
Yeah.
So can't take us over.
I guess I know more about World War II than I thought.
You really did know quite a lot.
Should we quickly call Nick and have a 1-minute conversation with him just to see
Sure.
what he knows?
Yeah.
Because
Hey, Nick.
he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Let's call him. He's going to pick up. He's going to
Was that the food, by the way? Whoa. I was going to say it was so quick.
This is Nick Smith, everyone, at NickSmith09 on Instagram.
Matthew.
Hi, you're on the podcast with me and Chris Distefano, and we just have a couple of war questions and history questions for you. Are you able to answer?
Yes.
Hi, Nick.
Christopher.
Hello. Okay, Nick. So we have been talking here about history, and Matteo told us. We saw that Lizzo thing, and you didn't really know much about World War II. Have you learned any more since then?
About World War II?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you have?
I did. I did my research.
Okay. Who led the Russian army? Who was the leader of Russia during World War II?
I didn't do that kind of research. I don't know. Putin?
Putin?
Dad?
Putin's dad.
Yeah. Putin's dad. Okay. No. Who was the leader of America during World War II?
Roosevelt?
That's right.
It was right?
Franklin or Teddy?
Franklin or Teddy? I don't know. Which one was in the wheelchair?
Good enough, Franklin.
Which he probably knows from the musical Annie.
Yes. Okay. And then who was the leader of the British during World War II?
I only know two British leaders, and it's Churchill and Margaret Thatcher, so I'm going to go with Churchill.
There you go.
Oh my
See,
God,
you're
Nick,
good.
Nick, you did great.
You did good. You passed.
Yeah, because I'm smart.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
All
Nick.
right, thank you, Nick.
All right, goodbye.
Bye.
Wow,
That was
I
good.
did not think he was going to say Churchill.
Nick got
Margaret
it.
Thatcher, which he knows from. When I asked him when the Titanic sank, he goes, "Well, it had to be in the early 1900s because the women were wearing bustles still." So this was very interesting. Teach me, Daddy. But I'm very proud of myself for knowing more than I thought. I was genuinely nervous that I was like, "Oh God, I don't
Daddy
know."
knows a lot.
World War I know less of, but I still know enough.
World War I, you really just have to. All you really got to know is about like trench warfare,
Oh, it seemed horrible.
and it was just like nothing really happened in World War I.
Yeah.
It just really led to World War II.
Well, I have to say, thanks, Daddy. You really taught me a lot.
No problem.